The silence in the control room was suffocating. Captain Aria Vasquez stared at the holographic display in front of her. Her crew, the best of the United Earth Forces, sat tensely at their stations, watching the incoming fleet of alien ships with a mixture of awe and terror. It wasn't the size of the fleet that was the problem. Earth's military had seen larger threats before. No, it was the fact that these ships, sleek and eerie with their ethereal glow, hadn't fired a single shot. "Are we sure they haven't launched any weapons?" Arya asked, her voice tight. Her second-in-command, Lieutenant Rivers, shook his head, eyes glued to the tactical screen. "Confirmed, Captain. They're just hovering. No communication. No energy spikes that indicate a weapon charge. Hovering at the edge of our defense perimeter for over 3 hours now," she muttered. "They're taunting us." The truth, Arya knew, was more terrifying than any display of aggression. The aliens didn't need to fire a shot to make their intentions clear. They were here to observe, to study humanity's response, not their technology. For the past 50 years, every first contact scenario had followed a similar pattern. An alien race would initiate peace talks, Earth would negotiate cautiously, and slowly a new alliance would form. But the Voidborn were different. They didn't come to talk. They came to understand what made humans so uniquely dangerous. They came to understand the concept of overkill. 3 months earlier, the Voidborn had appeared without warning in the outer reaches of Earth's solar system. They transmitted no messages, made no effort to communicate their purpose. At first, their presence was regarded with curiosity. Scientists hypothesized that they were merely explorers. But then, one by one, Earth's outer colonies began to go silent. Stations that had been vibrant with life went dark. Ships that had been in transit were never heard from again. Noreki. No debris. No traces of destruction. "These aren't invaders," the top brass had declared in the secure bunkers of Earth's military command. "They're researchers, but they're studying something far more complex than our technology. They're studying us." "Captain," Rivers said, breaking her out of her thoughts. "Orders from command just came in." Arya raised an eyebrow, dreading what was to come. "And we're to initiate Phase Black." Phase Black, the last option. The one plan Earth had devised for enemies who could not be reasoned with, whose motives defied understanding. It wasn't a defensive plan. It was designed for complete and utter annihilation. The Voidborn didn't know it yet, but they were about to witness the human specialty. Initiate Phase Black. The words slipped from her lips like venom. There was no other choice. She couldn't afford hesitation, not now. Around the control room, the crew snapped into action. The silent hum of the ship, ISS Revenant, grew louder as the ship's core powered up for the final phase. Arya tapped into the encrypted communications line that connected her to the Earth Defense Network. "Command, this is Captain Vasquez. Revenant. Confirm Phase Black is go." "Confirmed," came the cold voice of Admiral Serrano, the man who had orchestrated humanity's defense strategy for the last 2 decades. "You are clear to engage at will." A holographic map lit up in front of Arya, displaying the layout of the solar system. Tiny red dots, denoting Voidborn ships, filled the map. Their formations were perfect, too perfect. No species ever fought this precisely unless they weren't preparing for a fight at all. "They're baiting us," Rivers muttered. "I know," Arya replied. "And that's why we're going to show them what happens when you push humanity to the edge." The Revenant, an enormous dreadnought-class warship brimming with the most advanced weaponry Earth had ever developed, was a symbol of humanity's ability to destroy any enemy. But this time, Arya knew, wasn't just about destruction. The Voidborn had taken human lives, but they hadn't started a war. Not yet. They were observing how far humanity would go in response to a silent threat, testing the boundaries of human paranoia, fear, and violence. The answer would be simple as far as it took. "Target coordinates locked," said Ensign Decker, his voice a mixture of excitement and terror. "Ready to fire on your command, Captain." Arya clenched her jaw. The Revenant's primary weapon, the Thanatos cannon, wasn't meant for mere intimidation. Its sole purpose was to erase entire fleets, to remove the concept of an enemy from existence. Developed in secret, it was the ultimate tool of Overkill, a perfect answer to the Voidborn's silence. Fire! The Revenant's hull groaned as the cannon charged. From deep within the ship's belly, a massive energy pulse surged to the surface, gathering into the maw of the cannon. A moment later, it unleashed a beam of pure devastation, cutting across the void of space. For a brief second, everything in the path of the beam vanished. Not even the light could escape its reach. The Voidborn fleet was obliterated in an instant. The energy from the cannon rippled through space, breaking apart the delicate symmetry of their ships. Their ethereal glow flickered once, twice, and then died. Where there had once been an organized fleet now existed only debris, scattering in the silent vacuum. The bridge of the Revenant erupted in a mix of nervous applause and quiet awe. They had done it. The threat was over. Or so they thought. "Captain," Rivers said, his voice low and trembling, "you need to see this." Arya turned back to the display. Her blood ran cold. In the place of the destroyed Voidborn fleet, something was happening, something impossible. The wreckage began to shift, pieces of the shattered ships floating together. At first, it looked like debris caught in a gravity field. But then the pieces started to merge, reshaping themselves into a single colossal form. "It's reconstructing itself?" Decker stammered, staring at the screen. "No," Arya corrected, her voice shaking with disbelief. "It's evolving." The Voidborn ships had been decoys, shells to gather data. Now they were assembling into a new entity, something far larger, more complex. It was learning, and it had just learned that humanity would not hold back. They didn't come here to conquer, she realized, her voice barely above a whisper. They came here to adapt. A low hum filled the ship as the Voidborn construct completed its transformation. It was no longer a fleet, it was a single living weapon, shaped by humanity's most extreme display of force. Tendrils of energy arced from its core, pulsating with the same destructive power they had just unleashed. "They're using our own technology against us," Rivers said, backing away from the console as if the image on the screen would leap out at him. Arya stood frozen, her mind racing. The Voidborn hadn't fired a single shot when they arrived. They had no need. They had forced humanity to fire first, to show its hand. Now they had what they came for, a blueprint of human warfare, raw and unfiltered. "Captain, orders?" Decker asked, his voice cracking with fear. Arya took a deep breath. She had to think fast. Every instinct screamed to run, to warn command, to flee back to Earth. But she knew that would be a death sentence. They had just armed the Voidborn with the most dangerous weapon imaginable, the human capacity for overkill. There was no escape now. They had triggered something far worse than an invasion. They had ignited an endless cycle of escalation. And the Voidborn wouldn't stop until they had perfected the art of destruction, using the very instincts that had made humanity so deadly. Arya's gaze hardened. "Prepare for evasive maneuvers," she ordered, her voice cold and resolute. "We're not done yet." The Revenant turned in space, engines roaring to life. The Voidborn construct followed, a hulking mass of alien technology and human ferocity. This was no longer a battle for survival. It was a test of how far both species would go. An arms race without limits, a spiral into the void where victory was measured by who could obliterate the other first. And in this war of overkill, humanity had just met its match. The stars themselves seemed to tremble as the two forces clashed, locked in an escalating dance of annihilation. A human specialty,